हाय अशोक।
हाँ, स्टार्ट कीजिए।
नमस्कार। अंतरराष्ट्रीय वैश्य महासम्मेलन मुंबई प्रदेश द्वारा
Recording in progress.
आयोजित बजट परिचर्चा पर मैं राजेंद्र मालपानी आपका हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। आज इस कार्यक्रम में श्री आशीष कुमार जी चौहान, एमडी एंड सीईओ, बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज एवं आईएएफ के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष श्री अशोक जी अग्रवाल सम्मानीय अतिथि के रूप में यहाँ उपस्थित है। इस कार्यक्रम के संयोजक एवं संचालक हैं आईवीएफ मुंबई के सीनियर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट सीए श्री अशोक जी अजमेरा। आज के कार्यक्रम में बजट विश्लेषण के लिए वक्ता रूप में हमसे जुड़ रहे हैं सीए श्री रामदेव जी अग्रवाल, सीए श्री एसपी तुलसियान जी, सीए श्री विमल जी पूनमिया। आप सभी का पुनः स्वागत अभिनंदन करते हुए इस प्रार्थना के साथ हम आज के कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। मैं अब आमंत्रित करता हूं हमारे आईवीएफ मुंबई के प्रदेश अध्यक्ष श्री डीसी गुप्ता जी को, वो अपना स्वागत उद्बोधन प्रस्तुत करें।
हेलो, आर यू हियरिंग मी?
या
सबसे पहले मैं एक सूचना दे दूं कि ये कार्यक्रम HBC न्यूज 18 के फेसबुक पेज एवं यूट्यूब चैनल पर लाइव देखा जा सकता है। आदरणीय श्री अशोक अग्रवाल जी, अध्यक्ष अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वैश्य महासम्मेलन, श्री आशीष चौहान जी, एमडी एंड सीईओ ऑफ बॉम्बे स्टॉक एक्सचेंज, हमारे यशस्वी वक्ता श्री रामदेव जी अग्रवाल, श्री एसपी तुलसियान जी, श्री विमल पुनिया जी, देश के सभी प्रदेशों के आईवीएफ अध्यक्ष गण, राकेश जी मेहता, कांतिलाल जी मेहता एवं इस वेबिनार से जुड़े हुए सभी सज्जनों एवं देवियों का मैं तहे दिल से स्वागत करता हूं। मुझे बताते हुए बड़ी प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि हमारा बजट एनालिसिस का यह कार्यक्रम 2006 से लगातार 17वीं बार हो रहा है। इस कार्यक्रम को शुरू करने में सबसे बड़ी भूमिका श्री राकेश जी मेहता ने निभाई है। मैं उनका बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं। मैं हमारे सभी स्पीकर्स का बहुत आभारी हूं जो अपने बिजी शेड्यूल में से हमारे इस कार्यक्रम में शामिल होने के लिए अपना समय निकालते हैं। मैं आईवीएफ के इंटरनेशनल प्रेसिडेंट श्री अशोक अग्रवाल जी का बहुत आभारी हूं जिन्होंने इस कार्यक्रम को सफल बनाने में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है। मैं अपनी पूरी टीम, विशेषकर श्री अशोक अजमेरा जी व श्री राजेंद्र पानी जी का आभार प्रकट करता हूं। मैं हृदय से यहाँ उपस्थित सभी जनों का बहुत बहुत सत्कार करता हूं। अब मैं श्री अशोक अग्रवाल जी से विनती करूंगा कि वे हमें संबोधन करें। थैंक यू। अशोक अग्रवाल जी।
सर, अपने आप को अनम्यूट कीजिए सर।
सबको नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग, राम राम। बंधुओं, आज बड़ा हर्ष का विषय है कि आईवीएफ इंटरनेशनल वेस्ट फेडरेशन के हमारे मुंबई चैप्टर के द्वारा यूनियन बजट 2022-23 के ऊपर हमारे गणमान्य सीए, देश के जाने माने सीए के द्वारा आज इस विषय पे चर्चा होगी। इम्पैक्ट ऑफ दिस बजट ऑन द कम्युनिटी, ट्रेड, इंडस्ट्री एंड कॉमन मैन। मैं इंटरनेशनल वेस्ट फेडरेशन की ओर से श्री आशीष कुमार चौहान जी, एमडी एंड सीईओ बीएससी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं कि इन स्पाइट ऑफ बिजी शेड्यूल ही इज हियर विद अस टू एड्रेस द गैदरिंग। सीए रामदेव अग्रवाल जी, सीए एसपी तुलसियान जी एंड सीए विमल पुनिया जी, sir, special thanks to you that you have been continuously addressing our gathering on this budget eve, and making an in-depth analysis of impact of this budget and integrities and analysis how this is going to impact the life of common man, trade and industry. Dear fellow friends, I appreciate the budget being presented today by Honorable Finance Minister under the leadership of our Prime Minister Modi ji, with a vision that the country has to go for a development. कोई भी फोकट की चीज उन्होंने नहीं बांटी, जो कि उम्मीद थी कि इसमें 5 प्रदेशों के अंदर इलेक्शन चल रहे हैं तो बहुत कुछ इसमें बजट में बांटा जाएगा। मुझे खुशी है कि उन्होंने अपने पॉलिटिकल एम्बिशंस का ध्यान नहीं रखते हुए देश हित के अंदर जो होना चाहिए था उसी चीज को ध्यान रखते हुए बजट पेश किया गया है। मैं ज्यादा नहीं बोल करके हमारे जो स्पेशलिस्ट आए हैं इसके सीएज हैं उनसे निवेदन करूंगा और उनके मैं भी आतुर सुनने के लिए implications of this budget. I am sure कि this will be a very fruitful discussion and deliberations by all the dignitaries. मुझे खुशी है कि उन्होंने once again I thank you all and especially the Mumbai chapter of IVF for organizing this event every year on the budget eve. Thank you very much. नमस्कार।
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। मैं आगे की कार्रवाई के लिए हमारे आज के संयोजक और संचालक श्री अशोक जी अजमेरा से अनुरोध करूंगा कि अब वो आगे की कार्रवाई को आगे बढ़ाएं।
धन्यवाद राजेंद्र जी and DC Gupta साहब for giving me this responsibility. I would like to introduce to you a very tall man, our guest of honor today, who does not know him, Mr. Ashish Chauhan, the MD and CEO of Bombay Stock Exchange, one of the largest stock exchange of the world. Ashish ji is a technocrat from IIT and IIM. Currently works as the MD and CEO of Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE, with market capitalization of listed companies close to over $3 trillion. At BSE since 2009, Ashish ji has helped BSE become a fastest stock exchange in the world with 6 microseconds response time. Completed its IPO, revived the revenue, introduced the mobile stock trading in India, diversified in the areas such as currency, commodity, equity derivatives, SME, startup. In fact, I am also fortunate to be one of the working committee member of the SME group, which was formed by him about 6 years back when the SME platform started by Bombay Stock Exchange. Startup, mutual fund distribution, bond distribution, insurance distribution, agri stock market. In mobile, there are a lot of disruption and many people are trying to contact me. Power trading and international exchanges at the GIFT City, etc. Ashish ji acted as the CEO of, you will all be surprised, as the IPL cricket team of Mumbai Indians, after his stint in NSE. And in his formative years, he worked as the president and CIO of Reliance Group from the year 2000 to 2009 in the field of IT, e-commerce, public relations, media, telecom, sports, organized retail, IPO, petrochemicals, refining, oil and gas, etc. Ashish ji was actually an instrumental to start even National Stock Exchange, first online stock exchange along with a team of 5 people which were given by IDBI to form this exchange. And he did wonders there. In fact, if I read the whole biodata, it will take a lot of time. But because of the paucity of time, I would only like to add that he is on the committees of the various organizations, various institutions of the Government of India, SEBI, stock exchanges, finance ministry, not only national, even in the international committees. Also, as the vice chancellor, or what do you call it, as a director of some of the foreign institutes, foreign educational institutes also, and has been a recipient of several awards and recognitions. If I list all them, it will take more than an hour for me. But with this short and brief introduction, I would like to request before you all, my very good friend, in fact, my guide, friend, philosopher, BSE MD and CEO, Shri Ashish Chauhan. And I would request him to say few words of blessings to all of us.
धन्यवाद अशोक जी अजमेरा, अशोक जी अग्रवाल, DC गुप्ता जी, मालपानी जी, मेरे बंधु मित्र रामदेव जी अग्रवाल, तुलसियन जी, पूनमिया जी, हम हर साल साथ में मिलकर ये जो बजट के शाम को ये कार्यक्रम, मुझे लग रहा है 2009 से मैं पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा हूँ ये कार्यक्रम में, एक भी साल मैंने छोड़ा नहीं है। तो मैं आप सभी का धन्यवाद अदा करता हूँ कि मुझे आप बुलाते हो और मुझे मालूम है कि जो आप सुनना चाहते हो रामदेव जी से या तुलसीराम जी से या पूनमिया जी से सुनना चाहते हो, जैसे अशोक अग्रवाल जी ने भी कहा कि भाई हम तो एक तरह से निमित्त है, तो दो तीन चीज कहूंगा जो स्वाभाविक एनालिसिस में नहीं आएगी। कि एक तो ये चीज है कि कौन सी पूर्व भूमिका में ये बजट बनाया गया है कि कोविड काल के दौरान 2 कोविड के साल अभूतपूर्व चीज बनी है। 100 साल में कभी ऐसी अनहोनी नहीं घटी है विश्व में जो पिछले 2 साल में हुई है। उसके बावजूद ये जो भारतवर्ष चलता रहा, अच्छी तरह से चलता रहा, तो मुझे लग रहा है कि सरकार ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया। और सिर्फ केंद्र सरकार ने नहीं, राज्य सरकारों ने, शहरों की सरकारों ने भी बहुत अच्छा काम किया है। और मुझे लग रहा है कि हम उस पूर्व भूमिका में ये बजट को देखना चाहिए कि उनके पास कितने कंस्ट्रेंट्स थे। बहुत कुछ कर सकते थे। अफवाहें भी उड़ी थी कि वेल्थ टैक्स आएगा या टैक्स बढ़ाया जाएगा, ऐसी कोई भी चीज नहीं हुई है। तो मुझे लग रहा है कि अपना जो कॉस्ट था उन्होंने कंट्रोल किया है। जहां खर्चा करना चाहिए वहीं पे किया हुआ है, और जहां खर्चा नहीं करना चाहिए था वहां पे नहीं किया। जैसे कि आपने देखा होगा लंदन में 80% सैलरी जो नौकरी नहीं जा रहे थे उनको भी दी गई। तो यूके की जो गवर्नमेंट है, इंग्लैंड की जो गवर्नमेंट है, उसका जो डेट है वो अब इंडिया से भी ज्यादा हो गया एज अ परसेंट ऑफ जीडीपी। पहले अपने से आधा भी नहीं था, क्योंकि वो फ्री में ही सबको बांटते गए। तो भारत सरकार ने जहां बांटना चाहिए था वहां बांटा, जहां नहीं बांटना चाहिए था वहां नहीं बांटा। तो मुझे लग रहा है बहुत अच्छी बात करी है। दूसरा है कि अभी भी कोविड हटा नहीं है। अभी भी ऐसा हो सकता है कि 2-3 और वेव्स आए और उस समय गवर्नमेंट को कुछ खर्चा करना पड़े। तो ये गवर्नमेंट पहले से बोलती आई हुई है कि भी हम कुछ ना कुछ अपने पास रख रहे हैं, जिससे कोई और दुर्घटना होती है और कोई आपत्ति आती है तो हम उसमें और खर्चा कर सके। तो ये जो पूरे अपने कार्ड अभी बिछा नहीं रहे, थोड़े से कार्ड अपनी जेब में डाले हुए हैं। तो मुझे लग रहा है इस बात को भी आपको ध्यान में रखना है कि ये जो सरकार है एग्जीक्यूशन ओरिएंटेड है, जो चीज हाथ में लेती है वो करके देती है। तो वो भी एक चीज आपने, जो पहले व्यय होता था पैसों का, सब्सिडी वगैरह का, वो कम होता है डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर वगैरह से। जो रोड्स बनने चाहिए थे वो बन जाते हैं। कई चीजें ऐसी है जो हम उसको सराहते नहीं है। तो मुझे लग रहा है कि ये वित्त मंत्री का ये दूसरा बजट है कोविड के काल में। कोई भी वित्त मंत्री ने एक बजट भी कोविड काल में नहीं दिया था, ऐसी कोई आपदा में, कुदरती आपदा में। जो ये मंत्री ने 2 दिए और दोनों में मेरे हिसाब से उन्होंने अच्छा काम किया, उनकी टीम ने अच्छा काम किया। तो हमें उसको एक तरह से अच्छे नजरिए से देखना चाहिए। जो ग्रोथ ओरिएंटेशन उन्होंने किया है, 7.5 लाख करोड़ कोविड काल में भी उन्होंने कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए एक तरह से एलोकेट किया है, जिससे पंप प्राइमिंग होगा। जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहता है उसके एवरेज में गवर्नमेंट अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रही है। तो मुझे लग रहा है कि ये भी एक चीज आप रामदेव जी से सुनेंगे, बाकी जो स्पीकर है उनसे भी सुनेंगे। डिजिटल मेरे हिसाब से 4 पहिए है कि एक तो ग्रोथ ओरिएंटेशन है, दूसरा है डिजिटल, फाइबर ऑप्टिक टू एवरी हाउस, ई यूनिवर्सिटी, डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी, और ऐसी कई चीजें जो डिजिटल पे ध्यान दिया हुआ है। तीसरा पहिया है ग्रीन का, कि यहाँ पर प्रदूषण की समस्या बढ़ रही है, एयर पोल्यूशन भी है, वाटर पोल्यूशन भी है, उसके ऊपर भी ये सरकार ने ध्यान दिया हुआ है। और चौथा है कि कोई टैक्स बढ़ाया नहीं है। मुझे लग रहा है बहुत सारी अफवाहें थी, तरह तरह के टैक्स बढ़ने वाले थे, कुछ नहीं बढ़ा। तो वो भी एक शुक्र है कि भाई टैक्स नहीं बढ़ा है। उसके अंदर अंदर ये बजट पेश किया गया, तो उसके लिए मैं वित्त मंत्री और उनकी टीम का भी धन्यवाद करता हूं। और आप सभी को नए साल की शुभकामनाएं, और नए साल सबके लिए अच्छा बीते, अच्छा कमाओ, अच्छा टैक्स भरो, वो भगवान से प्रार्थना। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद आशीष जी for your inspirational words, and you have rightly said you are a man of digital. You have transformed the entire stock exchange functioning, and this budget has also given a lot of thrust to digitalization. With this, we are very happy that our first speaker, the doyen of capital market, Ramdevji Agarwal, has joined us. Ramdevji Agarwal, who does not know him, again, we have such stalwarts today in this meeting that, in fact, you don't need to introduce them. But for the sake of Ramdevji's, I will just make a small formal introduction of Ramdevji Agarwal. Ramdevji Agarwal is the chairman of the Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited, and the driving force behind the company's approach to the investing. MOFCL is a well-known diversified financial services firm offering a range of products and services in securities, commodities, investment banking, asset management, and venture capital. As chairman of the Motilal Oswal Asset Management, the fastest growing asset management company in India, Mr. Agarwal has created the QGLP, Quality, Growth, Longevity, and Favorable Price investment process, and it's a buy right, sit tight investing philosophy. He is also the driving force behind the MOFSL Group's highly awarded research. He has been authoring the annual Motilal Oswal Wealth Creation Study since its inception in 1996. In fact, every one of us, we look forward to this study, you know, such a vast study with his own experience of so many years. We all people in the capital market look for this study. Mr. Agarwal is an associate of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and a member of the National Committee on Capital Markets of the Confederation of Indian Industries. He has also featured on the Wizards of the Dalal listed on CNBC TV 18, and he wrote a lot of books, you know, the corporate books like Numbers Game, and has been awarded with numerous number of awards. In fact, I think about a decade or 2 decades back, for 3 consecutive years, he was awarded the highest paid individual income tax payer. And with that, I would like to introduce before you all our first expert speaker on the budget, Shri Ramdevji Agarwal. Ramdevji, please, you can unmute yourself and start your presentation.
Good evening, friends. It's a pleasure to, again talk to all of you after a year. Though I am not a kind of economist to interpret the budget in a very meaningful way, but as a businessman, as an analyst, as an investor, we can figure out. And if we cannot figure it this time, in fact, the best thing is that finance minister tried to present the budget in an understandable way, because one by one she went, and it was a short budget speech. So a lot of what do you call it, small things were taken away, and she presented the meaty part of the budget, and it was one of the shortest budget speeches, and it was much more simpler to understand what she's trying to do in various sectors and the companies and the issues which people have, how she's addressing to that within her own limited means. So actually, if we come down to looking at the budget from a stock market point of view, because that's my prerogative, and that's where I come from. So my focus is on how to look at from a stock market point of view this budget. So actually, at one level, I can say it's a very positive budget, but a non-event, in the sense that non-event means today it is a great day that we have the budget has been presented, but it will have no meaningful impact in any of the sectors in a meaningful way, in the sense that broad direction which was there in the economy, and the COVID impact would of course be subsided, but basically she has not tinkered with the prospect of any industry in a direct fashion, because she has not given any demand booster to anybody, and it is just a supply side management, and with that, whatever happens to the economy, the positive impact of it, that is to be seen in the days to follow. But per se, textile industry, or say construction industry, or aviation industry, or hotel industry, there is no mention of any industry which has been given. It's a broad policy brush where she has tried to distribute her incomes to the people at large. So corporate profits, which is the foundation of stock market, that will actually become better and stronger in the days to come because of this budget. But this budget itself is not helping any specific company. But if the GDP growth rate, because of this budget, the assumption in the budget is that the economy will grow at about 8.5%. So if with a 4 to 5% inflation, so about 13% nominal GDP will grow, and the real GDP will grow at about 8%. So with that, I'm assuming if that comes true because of whatever external internal factors in the budget, in that case, we are in a fantastic situation for the market, because market has two things, EPS and P. So the earnings, the EPS comes from the earnings of the corporates, that will get stronger, and our companies will have a lot more business opportunities, and they will be able to grow their earnings in the current year. Now the P multiple side, though we are at reasonable P multiple, right now my sense is that after the budget, all the analysts, they will upgrade the EPS by 10 to 15 rupees. If the before budget, the EPS estimate for the Nifty was about 775, the estimate was about 875 rupees. For the next year, it will become 885. Maybe some bullish guys, they will say 900. So at 17,000 का index, you are looking at, मतलब आपका जो P multiple होगा करीब 18 से 20 के बीच में आएगा. बहुत ऑप्टिमिस्टिक होंगे तो 18 का आएगा, और थोड़ा पेसिमिस्टिक होगा तो 20 से 21 का आएगा. तो ऐसा बाजार का जो वैल्यूएशन है वो भी ठीक है, बट what is most important in the stock market is the corporate profit. She has done nothing to disturb the corporate profits, and the momentum which is building up of the opening up and general strength in the economy, वो बरकरार है और वो ज्यादा बढ़ेगा, क्योंकि जो आप कैपेक्स करेंगे 7.5 लाख करोड़ का, देखिए आप बजट देखेंगे तो उसमें मालूम पड़ेगा कि 2014 से मेथोडिकली ये कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर इकोनॉमी बढ़ा ही रहे. 2014 में उनका 2 लाख करोड़ था, लास्ट ईयर 5 लाख करोड़ था, इस साल 7.5 लाख करोड़ है. तो साल ब साल वो 25% से 30% से बढ़ाते आ रहे हैं. और इससे होता क्या है, आपको क्वालिटी ऑफ डेफिसिट जो है दैट इज इंप्रूविंग, बिकॉज द कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर टू डेफिसिट. सो बेसिकली दे आर बोरोइंग more and more for funding the capital expenditure, which is a good thing. It is not a consumption expenditure. It creates asset. It has a huge multiplier effect. So actually, the cornerstone of this budget is the capital expenditure build up, and that they are doing it methodically. So that will benefit some of the L&Ts of the world, the contracting companies, the cement company, the steel company. That those companies will have better business prospect because of the sustained capital expenditure build up. So that is one. Second, जैसे मैं बोला आपको कि मोर ऑफ द सेम. देखिए सबसे बड़ा सेक्टर है पूरे इसमें इंडेक्स में, वो है आपका फाइनेंस सेक्टर, आपका बैंकिंग सेक्टर. Banking sector is almost 30% of the entire NSE, and second biggest is IT, which is another 25%. So ये आपका जो बैंकिंग सेक्टर है, बैंकिंग में क्या होता है कि आपको क्रेडिट ग्रोथ है, मतलब उनका मेन बिजनेस इज क्रेडिट ग्रोथ. सो क्रेडिट ग्रोथ जो अभी 8-9% है, वो बढ़ के मुझे लगता है कि इट विल गो टू मोर लाइक 12-13%, 14%, एटलीस्ट टू द लेवल ऑफ नॉमिनल जीडीपी. नॉमिनल जीडीपी आपका 13% जाता है, मेरे को लगता है कि इस साल में the credit growth could be as high as 13-14%, and in that some of the banks will have disproportionate share of that credit growth. So I won't be surprised even the large banks of the order of ICICI, HDFC, Kotak, and Axis, they might grow their credit book by maybe in the high double digit, maybe 18%, 20%. That kind of top line growth can come. Second is the credit cost. Because your economy is going to grow at 8%, a lot of companies, those who are in trouble, they will start doing well and they will start repaying their loans. So their credit cost, the bad loan cost will come down. So you have the higher income and lower credit cost. So the profit will expand meaningfully in the days to come. So that's why my sense is that the corporate profit led by banks will be doing well. In the same sector, you have the insurance. Insurance companies were impacted by the claims in last 2 years. Because of the whatever health crisis we had, and that led to the increase in the rates of a lot of my company guys. They say that for health insurance, they have paid 30, 40, 50% more the premiums, and the premiums rate have gone up. But next year, starting post COVID, hopefully the claims will come down, and hence profit will again expand. So there again, you have a good chance of making money. So you have the banking, you have the insurance, and then third is the IT. IT is going through, irrespective of the budget, it is going through one of the most unprecedented bull run in terms of global expansion of Indian IT. So what happened in Y2K, now this is Y2K2, and here the size of opportunity is at least 10 to 20 times bigger. So, and these are the fantastically run companies, free cash flow, secular, growing at 15% kind of thing. Even Infosys growing at 15-17%. So you have a great chance of these companies becoming very large companies, globally large companies, in the sense that you have TCS, whose turnover will be about 2.5 lakh crores. 2.5 lakh crores of services with a profit of 50,000 crores. So, these kind of companies are coming up. They are world beaters, and these companies will do proud to India. They have done proud to India and will become even bigger. Some people are saying that this industry is headed to become from $150 billion of export to more like $300 to $400 billion in next 3 to 4 years. So that's the kind of prospect which is building up here. And so this is the second largest corporate profit pool in the entire index. About 25% of all the profits in India come from the IT companies. So that is also going to do well. So these two, the banking, finance, insurance, and IT, these two itself will be about 55% of the index. And then you have the real estate. Now, real estate is one thing which is the closest to the retail, in the sense that everybody needs a house. So I think after 8 to 10 years, now the cycle has turned, at least for the houses. So the house sales were falling till 2 years back, and now it has come back with a vengeance. And I believe the momentum is picking up, and as the economy does well, more and more people are going to buy houses, and that has a huge trickle-down effect on cement, steel, paints, pipes, fittings, and everything. So I think so. You have a 2-3 very large cyclical upturn is happening, and that is say IT boom. Then you have credit cost decline boom. Then you have the China plus strategy. What is happening is the world is wanting to buy more and more from India. See, India wants to export, that is one thing. But then the magic doesn't happen. Magic happens when the customer wants to buy more from India. And this time, like Y2K happened in India, not because India was good in software. Because the world wanted to solve their problem of Y2K. And that's why they came to India. And now in 20 years, what has India become? Now in manufacturing, it is not that India obviously wants to sell more, but now the customers want to diversify their sources of procurement from China to rest of the world. And that's where the India has a terrific opportunity. And government has also done in this budget also, whether it is a promotion of a lot of export-oriented SEZ policy itself is going to be changed. So Piyush Bhai has kind of put his stamp on the policy which we have seen in the budget. I think export is a big thrust area, and that's where I think again we are going to see some action out there. And let's see what is the final policy in the SEZ and all, and which kind of companies, manufacturing companies, they take advantage of that. But I think export side, your government expenditure side, your household expenditure into the building of houses. So these three are doing very well. Fourth is the private capex, which is जो private companies है, Tata Builders, ये सब जो नई factories लगाती हैं, that would be dependent on the demand side. At the demand side, there is no booster. So my sense is it will take some time for the demand to build up, for the capex cycle to really go rolling, and that could be the back ended maybe next year. But I don't see any break in that. But the real momentum which I was thinking she is going to use to boost the demand, and hence the moment the entrepreneur sees that there is a demand for their product, even before the demand has come, he will start putting the factory. But today he will wait for the demand to emerge, and then only he will put up the new factory. So I think all of them are entrepreneurs here. They would know whether they are putting up capacities or not, all of them. And if that is going to come through, that is the biggest bet. Indian private sector demand, Indian private sector capex. Because once all these four are aligned, then you are sitting on a ultimate, India boom. And that India boom leads to the Indian corporate profits boom, and hence the stock market boom. So we are in a very, very interesting situation. Now, to this bullish corporate profit boom situation, there is one caveat, that is the P multiple. P multiple is challenged because we are tailwinded for the corporate profits, but headwinded for P multiple. Because the US and the world has printed so much of money, there is a problem of inflation. Inflation all over the world, not only in India, world over. In fact, our inflation problem is very small compared to US, because in here, my bond rate is 6%, 6.5%. My inflation is also 6%. So the negative interest is maybe 1% plus minus. In US, their bond rate is 2%, whereas the inflation is 7%. So they are struggling with the 5% negative interest rate. So they have to really come heavily on the inflation. And that when they come heavy on the inflation in next 6 to 8 months, it will have global repercussion. हम लोग सब नौकर लोग होंगे. So it will it's a one village. When the America comes heavy on the their fiscal policy, monetary policy, it will have impact on India. So what I'm saying is that equity as an asset class will remain in corrective phase. If I hope that it doesn't crash, but it will remain in corrective phase on the multiple side. I'm very clear that corporate profits will boom, and but P multiples will tend, though this 18, 19, maybe it may come down to 17, 18 or something like that. So my best expectation right now for the market is to give a modest return of 10% plus and 10% plus minus, I would say. And it has nothing to do with the budget, let me tell you. It has nothing to do with the budget. We'll do well because our corporate profits are growing, our valuations are reasonable, but FIs are sellers. So what is happening is another thing which is happening is the expansion of retail. This is unprecedented. It's a revolution going on. Every month in January 2020, 24 months back, the total demat accounts were 40 million. Today, it is 80 million. Every month, we are getting 3.5 million accounts. There could be some duplication, but still, market is expanding at rapid pace. And that's why when the FIs came to sell, all this retail, they absorb all the liquidity. And that's why there is a fight between the locals and foreigners in the marketplace. World is underallocated on India. At some point of time, 6 months, 8 months henceforth, these FIs are going to come to buy. When they come to buy, retail is not a seller. What will happen? They have to pay hefty prices. The cost of exit is okay, but cost of entry will be humongously high. You just watch it, but we don't know when it is going to happen. Is it 6 months away? Is it 12 months? I don't know. I have no idea. So that's why to make money in the market, you need 3 things: vision, courage, and patience. And patience is most difficult. So, I mean, you all are businessmen. You are successful because you have the vision, and you have courage to put your life to do those businesses. Same thing is in the stock market. But third thing you need to make money in the market, and big money, is to have a lot of patience. And that patience will be tested in next 12 months in Indian markets. I mean, equity per se, we had bumper time in last 2 years. This year will be a challenging time. I hope it is not so painful, but it will become painful because we have done too much of printing of money worldwide. And hence inflation dowsing will be a bit challenging. And hence I think and if we by chance do 10-15% negative return in next 12 months, then you are set for a bumper return year after that. Maybe it could be 40%, 50% year after that. So, it is a kind of crazy situation where companies are going to do well, stocks may not do so well. So it's all thinking. I'm just thinking aloud. I don't know what will happen, and that's why I'll stay invested in the market. Like your business is doing well, you don't care a damn about what is the stock price. You remain invested like a good entrepreneur. Same way, I'll become good entrepreneur or good investor in the market, and I will remain invested with the expectation that market might be 10% up in next 12 months, or it could be 10%, 12% down for the next 1 year. But with the firm expectation that I will make 15% compounded in next 5 years. In 5 years, my money will double. That's my thinking, and that's the thought process with which I approach the market. Remain optimistic, and the country is going to do well. It is in the safe hands. These people are very transparent guys. Nirmala Sitharaman has been very, very transparent. She has been very simple. She has spoken with a lot of clarity and no goof up in numbers. In fact, I think the tax estimates are far, far lower than what they are going to collect. So, so we are in safe hands, and things look good except for the global inflation, on which I don't have nobody has any authoritative voice. What exactly will happen, how it will be controlled, and what kind of a negative effect it will have. Nobody knows, but that's the only challenge we have in next 12 months. So with this, I'll close my remarks, and I I wish that all the entrepreneurs, they do well and they do even better in their portfolios. Thank you very much.
Sir, we would like to have some 10-12 minutes more of yours. Thank you very much for such a, very frank, free, candid, and your own, from the heart opinion in a talk. My first question is, Ramdevji, is on your old formula of, buy, write, sit, type. So when you said that you have to save for 1 year, are we still continuing that formula, that not necessarily 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, but we might have to wait for 5 years? Is that correct? Still holds good today also?
Yeah. So long as the company is good, you should be good. See, आप जैसे आपकी कंपनी चल रही है, आपकी कंपनी अच्छी चल रही है, तो 30 साल मोतीलाल ओसवाल में मैं 30 साल से बैठा हूं, तो 30 साल के लिए अच्छा है, और वो अगले 30 साल अच्छा करे तो अगले 30 साल भी अच्छा है. उसमें क्या अंतर पड़ता? Why should you see? इसमें क्या होता है, देखिए, आपकी इंडस्ट्री में आपको परचेज प्राइस का जो एडवांटेज होता है, दैट यू शुड साइकोलॉजिकली नेवर गिव अप. आपने 10 में खरीदा, भाव 1000 हो गए, ठीक है, 1000 वाला 500 हो गया, लेकिन आपने तो 10 में खरीदा ना. तो वो एक जो कंफर्ट होता है माइंड में साइकोलॉजिकली, कि भाई मैं बैठा रहूंगा, मेरे को डिविडेंड आ रहा है, सब कुछ हो रहा है. कोई बिजनेस स्ट्रेट लाइन में नहीं जाता है. नो बिजनेस मूव्स इन स्ट्रेट लाइन. देयर इज ऑलवेज अप एंड डाउन, बट डायरेक्शन इज अप. So you have to see the underlying trend of the business, and since you know it so well, यदि आपको लगता है कि अब यहाँ से कहानी खत्म हो गई, obviously you can move. But buy right and sit tight, particularly for private money. आप लोग जो 50,000 करोड़, लाख करोड़ मैनेज नहीं कर रहे हो, आप लोग अपना 5, 10, 20 करोड़ ये कर रहे हो, उसमें तो इतना तकलीफ करने का कुछ काम ही नहीं है. आपको ये भाई लोग जितने बैठे हैं, इसी में आपको मिल जाएंगे 2-4 लोग जहाँ पर आप इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो.
Yes, sir. We have some questions. Those who wants to ask the question to Ramdevji can raise their hand, virtual hand. We have Hemangi Singh. You had raised your hand. Would you like to ask any question, Hemangi? Or we go to Kiran Naik. Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sir, what is the call on precious metal?
Precious metal like gold, you are saying?
प्रेशियस मेटल पे आपका व्यू क्या है सर?
नहीं, आप क्या गोल्ड के बारे में जानना चाहते हैं?
गोल्ड एंड सिल्वर बोथ.
So I don't have good understanding of this subject, but I am not a big fan of gold. So but I think now the inflation is building up in the economy. It could be a good hedge against the inflation. So it might do well, I would say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arun ji. Dr. Arun Garg, Rotarian Arun Garg.
Yeah, good evening, Ramdev ji.
Very good evening, sir.
I am a big fan of yours. What I wanted to ask you is, the global FIIs are selling in like maddening since the last 1.5-2 months. तो क्या अपना डोमेस्टिक मार्केट ये प्रेशर झेल पाएगा?
अभी ये क्या कुश्ती है, कभी वो रस्सा खींच है, कभी ये लोग खींचते हैं, कभी वो लोग खींचते हैं, लेकिन यदि रस्सा खींच में दोनों एक तरफ आ गए तो क्या होगा? तो मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, देखिए, हमको और आपको कोई चॉइस नहीं है, हमको तो यहीं खरीदेंगे, यहीं मरेंगे हम.
हाँ जी,
हम लोग अपने शेयर खरीदते रहेंगे. लेकिन जो बाहर वाले हैं उसको बहुत चॉइस है, वो जो इंडोनेशिया में चलाता है, चाइना में चलाता है, कभी अमेरिका चला जाता है. लेकिन जिस दिन उसका दिल करेगा कि मेरे को इंडिया आने का है, उस दिन शेयर किससे खरीदेगा?
वो मैंने आपने सुना, आपने जो बोला. बट अगर एट द प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन इफ यू सी, they are sellers like crazy.
They will remain sellers. They will remain. Okay. My sense is they will remain sellers because they are following the global policy. They are following because their investors are in US. If they are redeeming the funds, they have no choice but to sell.
Okay, thank you.
Nilesh, and how much depend? 1 minute, sir. Ashok ji, last question. How much dependent are we on the foreign? That
see, they own very large portion of the market. They own 23-24% of the market, but 23% of the market means almost 50% of the floating stock. Yeah. In some companies, they own 70-80% of the floating stock. So they have a huge say. They are very powerful guys. Their funds are 80 billion, 100 billion, 200 billion. So the way they can sell and run away from here, Indian markets don't have that depth. But still, $1 billion, 7,000 crores, 5,000 crores, they are selling every day. And yet there is that liquid. In fact, more they sell, they will come with a bigger bang whenever they come. Because if we keep doing well, we're entitled to get their money. They will come. When? I don't know. But they will definitely come.
Okay, thank you. Nilesh Barfiwala. Nilesh.
Good evening, Ashok ji. Good evening, panel of speakers. Happy budget day to all. Sir ji, since last 1 or 2 years, what we feel, but budget in a broader concept. अभी पहले जैसा नहीं हुआ for a layman's के टैक्स बढ़ाया, टैक्स घटाया, what is that? Basically, it has become a very growth oriented. So very macro sort of a budget is there. इस साल का भी बजट में अगर देखेंगे तो for regular people कुछ है नहीं. Normally क्या होता है जब भी हम लोग बजट सुनते भी come with that करे टैक्स में क्या बढ़ोतरी हुई, कटौती हुई, खाली वही अपने ध्यान में रखते हैं.
What is your question, Nilesh?
The question is that, see how I mean, this is a good change of focus from the government that not looking into the micro level and coming to the macro level. So what effects as a normal human being it can be? Thank you, sir.
So I don't have any question in that.
No, Ramdev ji, no, it's basically a statement which you have given that this year budget is different than every year's budget, where they tinker with some small, your personal tax, individual tax, some item, some industry. So what effect it has? So, I mean, it is, I think, Nilesh, you had no question, but your own observation. Thank you for that. Ramdev ji, you would like to say something?
Yeah, so basically what has happened is because of GST, indirect taxes is जो जहाँ नमक में भाव बढ़ा दिया, इसमें पेंट में गिरा दिया, ये सब जितना indirect taxes था, that has been taken away by GST, and that keeps happening through the year. So half the budget excitement is gone in that. Now second half is the direct taxes. Now in direct taxes, she has decided not to touch it at all. अभी इतना ज़्यादा corporate tax 25%, incremental new manufacturing company is 15%. आपका जो पर्सनल टैक्स है उसमें थोड़ा हम लोग को जितने यहाँ पर ऑडियंस है उनको थोड़ा धक्का लगा है, वो 42% कर दिया for the guys. I think they earned 5 crores. So वो भर एक तकलीफ वाला है. बाकी इस बार कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स में भी थोड़ा सा फायदा दिया है. But basically direct taxes is the main interest. सैलरी वालों को टच नहीं किया है. So basically it has become a statement of their own income and expenditure and the direct tax provisions, if at all there is one. So it's actually the scope. In fact, budget is not discussed anywhere in the world except for India. So I don't know why this particular thing, but basically budget is no event anywhere in the world, nowhere.
So we are touching almost 600 participants now. There is somebody from Shimla. I could not read that. Do you want to you want to ask a question, or you are just writing something on chat? Okay, before he comes in, there is one Mr. Puran Agarwal. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please. Puran?
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for allowing me. Mr. Ramdev ji, I'm very big fan of yours. I have been reading a lot about you, your videos and all. My question, sir, on cryptocurrency adoption, because in the last many years, last 4 or 5 years, we have been talking, but at least we have some clarity. So looking at, how it is going in China, US and many other countries where, it's being adopted. What's your view for India?
See, I think today she has summarized it. She has put 30% tax without set off. So basically it is banning. I mean, it is a message, you must get it. But उसके बाद भी आपको करने का है, दुबई से करना है, कहीं और से करने का, ओवरसीज अकाउंट से करने का, तो आप करिए फिर. So, basically the thing is, it is a speculation. 100% speculation है, और speculation में तो आपको मालूम है outcome क्या होने वाला. 100 में से एक आदमी कमाएगा पैसा, बाकी 99 गवाएंगे. अभी, so whether you want to join that race or not, that's your part.
Mr. SP Kati, please unmute yourself. Mr. Kati or Mr. Kanu Kanthed, Miss or CA Anu.
Yes, yeah, I'm able to unmute myself. Good evening, sir and Ramdev sir. Sir, my question is simple, that there are many shares which are performing good and which are having excellent fundamentals, but they are not moving much because they are not in the eyes of everyone, or it is not like discussed on TV. Apart from that, there are some kachra stocks also, but yeah, मतलब फंड्स वगैरह और ऑपरेटर लोग उसमें बहुत पैसे लगाते हैं तो वो हेवीली मूव करता है. तो सर मेरा बस एक मेन क्वेश्चन है कि फंडामेंटल्स की तरफ ज्यादा खिंचाव होता है या फिर जो फंड्स और ऑपरेटर ज्यादा करते हैं उसकी तरफ ज्यादा झुकाव होता है.
I mean, I'm not getting your question. I mean, Ashok ji, can you tell me the question?
नहीं मतलब फंडामेंटल के ऊपर ज्यादा जाना चाहिए या इतने सारे सब जो मार्केट में चलता है ये इसके ऊपर?
हाँ ठीक है.
इसमें तो बिल्कुल क्लियर है कि आप तो फंडामेंटल पे ही मेनली
No, fundamentals and whatever works for you. See, there are million guys, million ways of making money in the stock market. आपका रास्ता कैसा है? जिससे पैसा बनता हो, किसी मेरे हिसाब से आप नहीं कमा सकते और आपके हिसाब से मैं नहीं कमा सकता. Whatever works for you. I mean, I'm talking about investing. इन्वेस्टिंग में आपका जो भी स्टाइल है, आपका जो बैकग्राउंड है, उसके हिसाब से आप अच्छे से कर सकते हैं. यदि आप पैसे कमा रहे हैं 10 साल से, डोंट बॉदर अबाउट व्हाट अदर्स आर डूइंग, बिकॉज यू कैन नॉट बी द अदर गाय. So you have to maintain your individuality, and that's the beauty of the stock market. Small guy can maintain his individuality. He doesn't have to follow Warren Buffett or anybody like that. He can make his own style and he can make your own money.
थैंक यू. अशोक जी, भाई साहब अशोक जी अग्रवाल, आप भी भाई साहब पूछना चाहेंगे कुछ?
हाँ, मैं रामदेव जी नमस्कार. अशोक अग्रवाल, प्रेसिडेंट इंटरनेशनल वेस्ट फेडरेशन. मेरा एक चीज जानना था कि आज एमएसएमई को लेकर के और गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ प्रोविजंस किए हैं रिलीफ देने के लिए. अभी स्पेसिफिक नहीं कि कैसे क्या लोन्स का डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन रहेगा, पर पास्ट का एक्सपीरियंस देख करके ऐसा लगा कि कोई बूस्टर डोज नहीं था वो. क्या लगता है आपको कि क्योंकि एमएसएमई प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल फॉर गिविंग द एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स इकोनॉमी को लेकर के, तो व्हाट इज योर फीलिंग?
I told you in the beginning, I'm disappointed with there is no demand booster out there. लेकिन हमारी समझ शायद कम हो सकती है क्योंकि इकोनॉमिक काफी कॉम्प्लेक्स सब्जेक्ट है. और सो क्लियरली जो ये हादसा हुआ है इसका कोविड का, उसके बाद जो एक अनप्रेसिडेंटेड टाइम रिक्वायर्स अनप्रेसिडेंटेड स्टेप्स. सो अनकन्वेंशनल प्रॉब्लम है, अनकन्वेंशनल स्टेप्स होने चाहिए. तो जो डिस्ट्रक्शन है एमएसएमई का, वो उसको वो ठीक तो हो जाएगा. आगे पीछे 20-30% परमानेंटली बंद हो जाएंगे, फिर जो बचेंगे 50-60-70% वो डेफिनेटली वापस आएंगे, लेकिन स्लोली वापस आएंगे क्योंकि उनके रिसोर्सेज कम रहेंगे. उनको ऑफकोर्स बैंक से सपोर्ट रहेगा, लेकिन जैसे डिमांड खुलेगा तो जैसे शादी, मैं तो बोलता हूँ 10% ऑफ जीडीपी ओनली मैरिजेस. एक बार मैरिज चालू होगा अच्छे से पूरा नॉर्मल वे से 3,000-5,000 लोग जाएंगे, तो ऑब्वियसली देयर विल लॉट ऑफ बूस्टर टू दिस अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड सेक्टर. But right now there is so much of what you call restriction in any kind of festivities, movement, parties. So I think a lot of people are suffering with that. So I don't know, I mean, what government could have done, but I think it will be a slow to recover. I'm quite sure, and some of them will permanently close down. And that market share.
भाई साहब, ECLGS में 50,000 करोड़ और बढ़ाया है, 5 लाख करोड़ किया है और उसकी डेट भी एक्सटेंड किया है 31 मार्च 2023. So this is actually direct benefit to some of those units which are suffering. With this, Prakash Samudra ji, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. We will have only 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, thank you, Ashok, and Ramdev ji, can hear me?
Sorry.
Can we take it as the last question, please?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, friends. Only but Prakash Samudra ji's question is the last.
Yeah, Ramdev ji, I know last so many years we are hearing that the private sector has to invest in the projects or in the production unit, manufacturing unit. It is going very slow, and every time people say they should invest. What is really happening? They don't have trust in the business here, or what's the problem?
Who is expecting me? I mean, I don't get the rest of the question.
See, the last so many years we are saying that private sectors must invest into manufacturing, into production, right? And every time budget comes and they say we should woo the private sector. Now, what's really ailing them? They have money, they have funds, they have plans. Don't they have trust in the whole thing, or what? Why can't they invest?
So you are saying that private sector doesn't have trust, or the government doesn't have trust on the private sector?
Private sector. They should invest money, in projects.
No. Sir, private sector is very smart in the sense that anywhere in the world, you are not a charitable guy. You are saying that I will invest when there is demand. You create the demand. You don't have to ask anybody. They will put it up. यदि आपका कैपेसिटी 2 लाख कार का है महीने का, यदि डिमांड 5 लाख का होगा, वो अपने छत के ऊपर बनाएगा, 4 शिफ्ट करेगा, लेकिन वो बनाएगा आपको 5 लाख. लेकिन यदि डिमांड 1.5 लाख का है तो वो थोड़ी नया फैक्ट्री लगाएगा. क्या करेगा फैक्ट्री को?
Thank you very much. With this, Ramdev ji sahab, you for sparing such a valuable time on a budget day itself, which you are doing every year for us. And I hope all our participants, 632 now, must have been benefited immensely with your talk and the answers to the questions. Thank you very much. With this, I would request our next speaker, Shri SP I will welcome him. And before I request him to start his talk, I would like to introduce Tulshanji. Tulshanji has been very kind to have come in on time. A chartered accountant come company secretary, along with law and commerce graduation. SP Tulshanji is a name to reckon with in the Indian capital markets. Investing and advising on the stock markets has been his passion and the way of life for the past over 4 decades. In fact, I know him personally for last almost about 44 years. He started a hugely popular and well-respected weekly tabloid, Premium Investments, as its editor and publisher in January 1990, published in 3 languages, that is English, Hindi and Gujarati, which went on to become the highest selling publication amongst over 60 financial periodicals at that time in India. Adopting to the change of the time in 2007, the tabloid evolved into an online portal providing timely and apt investment advice on www.sptulsian.com, which Tulsianji is today the editor and CEO. Making regular appearances on the prominent television channels like CNBC TV 18, CNBC Awaaz, and many of the other channels. His quotes on the M&A, important corporate actions, union budget, specific industry-wise development progress are often considered to be the last word. The print media also relies on his advice, and he is often quoted in many of those famous print medias. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I have great pleasure in introducing before you my very good friend, Sri SP Tulsianji. Tulsianji, you are mute, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me now, Ashok?
Yes.
Thank you, Ashok, for nice introduction. And just to make some correction there, I've stopped my appearances on appearing on all television channels for last 15 months because of my pre-commitment in some other revenues and all that. So now I'm not appearing in any of the channels. So that is just the correction. Rest part is all fine and perfect. So now let me start here with the budget. I will only be touching on the points which are relevant from the capital market point of view. I will call it as a path-breaking budget, revolutionary budget, and in continuation to the budget what we have seen last year presented by the FM. Now, first point which we all see here, because we loosely, because we are very fond of referring all these standard things. What is the fiscal deficit? What is the deficit and this, all those things? And if you see, maybe I have not seen any channel and all those things, but many people must have talked on the fiscal deficit and all sort of things only. Now, let me just start here that if you see the fiscal deficit having given for FY23, that is at 6.4%, and for the current year, it has been revised upward to 6.9% from 6.8%. The best part is that if you want to understand the fiscal deficit part or maybe the deficit, there are 2 components to always in the budget. One is revenue deficit, and second is the fiscal deficit. If you see for all the budgets, if you refer maybe for last 10 years, you will always find the revenue deficit being about 50% of the fiscal deficit, of the total deficit. So my point is that the relevant deficit is also revenue deficit, which we must consider while taking a call on the budget. Now here, if you start with just to give you a perspective, in FY 1920, the revenue deficit was 2.4% against fiscal deficit of 4.6%. That means it had about 52% of the deficit has been taken for the revenue deficit. Similarly, for year 2021, the revenue deficit was 68% of fiscal deficit. But if in the current year in this budget, the budget which has been presented for next year, that is FY23, the revenue deficit is at 40% of the fiscal deficit. Now it's very, the accounting people, we are all accounting people, we understand these common words of revenue deficit and fiscal deficit. Revenue deficit means the आपकी जमा खर्ची जो आपने कितना कमाया और कितना खर्चा किया उसके सामने, that means the salary and all sort of things, the grants, the subsidies, the this and that, all those things taken away by the revenue deficit. So if the government has or the FM has curtailed the revenue deficit to 40%, obviously the 60% portion has gone for the capital expenditure. So that's the best part I've liked in this budget, is that the proportion of revenue deficit has fallen to 40% against usual ballpark 50% on an average for last 10 years. I've already given you the figures for last 2 years. 1920 it was 52%. In 2021, it was 68%. One can understand for 2021 because that was a COVID year, so maybe revenue expenditure and all sort of things. So what used to happen that the जितना भी income होती थी हमारे देश की, हमारे सरकार की, उसका major पैसा सब्सिडी, ये फालतू काम जो बोलते हैं ना मनरेगा and all those things, where the assets were never getting created. कभी भी assets नहीं बनाए सरकार ने. But now for this budget, for the first time, I've seen that the assets are all created. That means 60% of the deficit has gone for the fiscal deficit, and only 40% of that has gone for the revenue deficit. This is the very positive point. And let me tell you, I will take up each and every point very quickly. And this is going to get liked by the FPIs like anything. That means they will have the confidence that there won't be any corruption. The transparent spending will be there. Already the continuation of the policies of the government is there of continuing with the creating the public capital expenditure. So that's one part. Coming on the second part, which has been all talked now by the people. In fact, in my advisory portal, I got about 150 queries where they've been asking on the divestment target. That the divestment target has been pruned to 78,000 crore for FY22 against 1,75,000 crore, and for the next year it is 65,000 crore. Now let me just make the things very clear here also, that for the current year, which we will be ending maybe after 2 months on 31st March 22, that means 2 months of this financial year, they have pruned the divestment target to 78,000 crore, which was earlier at 1,75,000 crore. Now, how this 78,000 crore will be achieved? 12,000 crore has already been achieved by the government till in this first 10 months of the FY22. Now, remaining 66,000 crore, 78,000 crore minus 12,000 crore is the 66,000 crore target they have to mop up in this financial year. Now, in my view, if you see the LIC IPO is going to see the light of going to get concluded in this financial year, will get listed by 31st March. And if you go by the ballpark figure, though LIC has not filed the DRHP with SEBI, they probably will be filing in the next couple of days. So once they file the DRHP, we will going to get the valuations and all those things known. But the street figures or the discussion which we all carry out, the pre-IPO and what you call exercises, I think the IPO is valued, or the LIC is valued at an enterprise value of about 12 lakh crore. 12 lakh crore means it doesn't have any debt, because this is an insurance company. They don't have any borrowing. So 12 lakh crore, of that about 6 to 8%, because government, I don't think that government will offload 10% stake also even in an LIC, because they've been exempted by the SEBI also, that they can go for 6 to 8% also of the dilution in the first phase. So maybe about 6 to 8% will get diluted. Even if I take 12 lakh crore as a ballpark figure, and it takes 6% dilution, because it all depends on the appetite of the FPI's response and all that institutional investors, how much they respond to the government in this issue. So even if I presume 12 lakh crore as the EV or as the fair valuation of IPO of the LIC, and 6% dilution comes to 72,000 crore. And as I told you that 12,000 crore has already been mopped up, and even if you take 70,000 crore ballpark, this gives you about a total value of about fund mobilization of about 82,000 crore. So of that 82,000 crore, already government has set a target of 78,000 crore for this financial year. So I don't think that anybody should have any doubt about the achieving this target of 78,000 crore. But this gives us an indication that probably in this financial year, we will not see any other strategic sale. That means maybe of BPCL or maybe of Shipping Corporation of India and all blah, 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 blah. So yes, for the current financial year, 78,000 crore, I don't think that there should be any doubt in mind of any investor. They will be able to achieve that. Come for FY23. FY23, the government has estimated divestment target of 65,000 crore. Now here, let me tell you, just to give you, because I'm closely tracking this sector and this segment, there are at least about 10 to 12 companies lined up for financial for divestment in FY23. Now, it is good that government has not given the name, because last time, if you all recall, FM gave the name of 2 banks, PSU banks, and 1 general insurance company, which will get divested in the FY22, which did not happen. So this invites a lot of criticism, maybe because of the COVID and all those things. People will not collaborate that statement that if the things would have been normal, probably government would have been able to do the divestment of those companies. So now here government has not narrated that what all companies they will be looking to divest. But in my view, if you really ask me, 2 companies I have identified for FY23. In my view, that can happen maybe in the next 3 to 4 months itself. They will surely be doing that in the first half only. So one could be BPCL. If you take the present market price of 378 rupees BPCL, it gives a market cap of about 82,000 crore. And 53% of that is held by the government. So 44,000 crore can get mopped FY23 alone from BPCL. Second is the residual stake sale in 20 in Hindustan Zinc. If you all recall, when Hindustan Zinc was divested by the same government, NDA government in 2002, they are left with a 29.5% as the residual stake in the company, that is in Hindustan Zinc. All along there, the government has been fighting that matter with us before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court about 3-4 months back has delivered the judgment that government can go ahead with the selling of the 29.5% residual stake to any party or any methodology they want. Now, if you take this 29.5% valuation based on the current market price of today, that is 318, it gives you a valuation of about 40,000 crore. So even if you take these 2 companies, 44,000 crore from BPCL and 40,000 crore from HP, from Hindustan Zinc, they should be able to mop up 84,000 crore, maybe for FY23 against target of 65,000 crore, which they've set, maybe in the first 6 months of the next financial year only. So again, if you really ask me, government has been very what you call pragmatic and practical in not giving the name and not making it ambitious, the targets of maybe 1 lakh crore and all sorts of things. So once this target of this 80,000 crore or 75,000 crore or 65,000 crore gets achieved by the government in the next for the next fiscal in the first half itself, that will be seen very positive. Apart from that, there are many companies which I have been having as a probable candidate of disinvestment, which if you all want, I can just narrate. NALCO, that is National Aluminium, Hindustan Copper Shipping Corporation, Concor, Bank of Maharashtra, IDBI Bank, BML, and 1 PSU bank and 1 insurance company. So if you add up all these value of all these things, that gives you a value of about 1 lakh crore. Now it's not very sure. Now take for instance in BPCL, tomorrow government may decide to divest maybe 40% or maybe 30% and say that 26%, 25% let him make the open offer, then balance money they will keep with themselves. So the structuring and the proportion of divestment is not known, but in my view, this government has taken an excellent step of divesting the companies with a lower expectation of 65,000 crore for next financial year and 78,000 crore for this financial year. So this is going to be the game changer for the stock market once the process will start happening, and probably LIC IPO will start the ball rolling, because Air India disinvestment has taken a little longer time. If that would have happened 3-4 months back, then probably they would have been able to complete 1 or 2 more disinvestment in this financial year, but doesn't make any difference. So this is on the divestment front. Come on the outlay for capital expenditure has been raised by 35.4% to 7.5 lakh crore in FY23. As I have referred in the first point, that revenue deficit is very low. So obviously the amount has gone for more for the capital expenditure, maybe for defense, maybe for digital, maybe for agri, maybe for EV and all sorts of capital expenditure and all sorts of things. That is going to be a very game changer. 35% increase has been made by the government in the capex of 7.5 lakh crore. And if you take the grant in aid to states, and you add that this amount comes to 10.68 lakh crore. If you have 10.68 lakh crore spending, you can understand the kind of growth which will be seen in the economy, maybe in the form of rural jobs, maybe in the form of cement steel consumption, maybe in the form of all other benefits and also, and which will be sustainable assets. Let me tell you that those assets, once will get created, will keep contributing to the exchequer every year, because we have not spent on the Manrega or maybe on the salary and maybe on the useless subsidy kind of things. Come on the focus on agri infrastructure, there has been the priority. One, if you have noticed this in the budget, Ken Betwa link project at a cost of 44,000 crore, which will benefit to the 9.8 lakh hectare farmers lands. 9 lakh hectare means about maybe 25 lakh acre. Because we are all familiar with the acre terminology, so about 23 lakh acre, which will help the 9.8 lakh for this land. Drinking water supply to 62 lakh people, 103 megawatt of hydro project and 27 mega of solar project. And in this project of about 44,000 crore, government has already allocated 4,300 crore in the current year, and they are allocating 1,400 crore in the next year. So that means this project is going to see the light of the day. Come on the next plans, because my focus is more on the capex which the government government has what you call narrated and tabulated for spending or made the allocation. Apart from this, there are DPR, detailed project report of the 5 rivers interlinking has been prepared. Best use of harvesting techniques, digital ecosystem for skilling and livelihood. Startups will all be with the drone Shakti. So these are the capex, which the government has kept its focus high on the new generation project. They've talked of the defense technology, they've talked of drone, they've talked of the EV, they've talked of the pollution control, they've talked of the green energy, all sort of things. That is not missing on the merely on the 1 year's annual budget. They've taken focus on all the points, all these areas and these projects. Then come on the Har Ghar Nal Se Jal coverage. In fact, this has been a very silent what you call achievement of the government, which they have been implementing, which we will, the way we have seen the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan in 5 years, we have seen the complete open, what you call this, sanitation getting stopped. In the similar way, we will see this Har Ghar Nal Me Jal, Har Ghar Mein Nal Se Jal. In this, if you see that the target was of 8.7 crore household. Of this, 5.5 crore households have already been provided the tap water in last 2 years. That means about maybe 3.2 crore households have remained. Of this, an allocation of 60,000 crore has been made to cover 3.8 crores houses in FY23. And in FY23, 80 lakhs houses will be completed under PM Awas Yojana, both rural and urban. So that means water projects and the Awas Yojana, both will be going simultaneously in FY23, which is allocation of about 1 lakh crore or 1,08,000 crore. So this will going to be very big game changer. Maybe the PVC pipe makers or maybe the cement companies, maybe steel companies, they will all send to gain good amount. Under Atmanirbhar in equipment for the armed forces, 68% of capital procurement will be from the domestic industry in FY23, up from 58% in 22. That means the government has been increasing their allocations in the defense, largely procuring from the domestic people. 58% in current year to 60 to 8% in the next year. That is a very big allocations made for the local manufacturer. And 5G telecom will all be provided with a very good facility of the required spectrum will be auctioned in in 22 to facilitate a rollout of 5G mobile services in 23 by private telecom providers. So telecom, all these core sectors, telecom, optical fiber, defense, or maybe this EV automobile, they will all be seen very positively gaining from all this. Now come on the revenue estimates. As I've said that the deficit which you have talked of 6.4%, if you see the revenue estimates which have been made by the government, generally, again, in the past, I'm not trying to criticize any regime here, but generally, if you see that always in the past, or maybe I would say that in the last 5 years of UPA, the budget drafting used to be so loose that in last in revenue estimations, they were always been very extraordinarily charitable in taking the higher projections. But if you go here, this budget has taken a non-corporate tax rate growth of about 13.4%. Now, let me tell you first, before that, here I would like to say that the GDP, which was at about maybe 230 lakh crore, that is about $3.07 trillion for this current year, has been estimated to grow to 260 lakh crore GDP. If you go by the relevant data and all those things, and that works out to $3.47 trillion. That means there will be an increase in the $0.4 trillion of our GDP in the next year. That translates into a growth of about 13.1%. That means the nominal GDP growth has been estimated by the FM in her budget at 13.1%. Now, if you take the maybe inflation of 4.1% or maybe 4.5%, or 5.1%, the GDP, in my opinion, should be between 8 to 9%, though the government has indicated it to be at 8 to 8.5%. So there will be better surpassing on the nominal GDP front as well as on the actual GDP front. So here, the 13.1 point, if you have an estimation of nominal GDP growth of 13.1%, generally by going by the past experience, the listed companies, being the compliant corporates, they always have a 1.5% higher tax growth. So here, instead of taking the corporate tax growth of about maybe 13.4%, if you're estimating a nominal GDP growth of 13.1%, you can take the corporate tax rate growth of maybe about 18%. But here the FM has taken that as 13.4% only, and non-corporate tax of 14.3%. That means the tax rates estimates, the revenue collections are seen to be on the lower side. In fact, they will surpass, in my opinion, looking to the growth which we are expecting to see, and the way the COVID is seen to be tapering off. In fact, Omicron also has not spoiled so much this time. So maybe if God is helpful to us, we will be seeing good surpassing these all tax revenue collections as well. So my point is that the revenues are all estimated on the lower side. The expenditures are all for the productive assets, for the capital expenditure, no wasteful expenditure. So all these things are going to get achieved by the government in their plans and all that. Now coming on the other areas, the populist measures are not there. Maybe like of maybe Manrega subsidy and all that. And even if you see the spend on the agriculture, the purchase of 2.3 lakh crore for rice and paddy has all been for the government. Some people say that okay, this meant what you call distribute and clear the food stock which government is holding of 87 lakh ton and all sort of things. But just imagine, and if you have the drought for 1 year or maybe 2 years, or maybe things are not proper, maybe on the rain god is not kind, what will be the situation? So I think government is not taking the pragmatic view, and this budget is going to get liked so much by the FPIs and the foreign investors and the funds and all that this is going to be a path-breaking budget and will be a game changer. So if overall, I don't see any reason, and in fact, I have given my index target, is Nifty, which is ruling at 17,570. Though generally, I never give any credence to the index levels. Maybe because we are not investing in the index. So what is the point in taking that call? But just for satisfaction, the 17,577, the Nifty which closed today, can rise to a level of 21,000 by next budget, and BSE index, which has closed at 58,860, can rise to a level of 70,000 by next budget. So this is my nutshell, the whole the gamut of the analysis of the budget which has been presented, and I see excellent opportunity for the investors going forward, because I've taken a 20% growth in the Nifty level. So stocks can give you a return of as high as maybe 30% also. It's an art of stock picking, not the art of playing on the index and not the art of playing on the speculation. So I'm quite hopeful and I'm quite bullish on the budget as well as on the market going ahead. And this is my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tulshan ji. Wow. Several years back, one very top market player for investors in the market, he just gave the target of Sensex to 30,000. And somebody asked, why not 50,000? And he replied, why not 70,000? It's an India growth story. And today, you are making it almost a reality, something which just went on the frenzy, of discussion, that next year, by next year's budget, we might see 70,000 Sensex and 21,000 Nifty. And your great analysis of these numbers, this kind of analysis, nobody, generally gives, and you have got that analytical skills to basically, connecting it with the budget numbers, and then in turn, what growth it is going to give. So thank you for that. And we will take, sir, a few questions, because we have some time left for, the time which was there for you. So if Mr. SP Kati, last time you had raised the hand, your hand is still raised. Would you like to ask a question? If not, Mr. Balraj, please unmute yourself. Yes, sir.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. Tulsian. You are an expert. My question may appear to be very crazy. I just wanted to know, are there any cruel players in the market? A 3 rupee share just about 4 or 5 months back is now trading around 150 to 200 rupees. Example, Tata Tele. Well, how come this amazing change in a very short span of time?
Mr. Balraj, firstly, I'm a fundamental analyst. I don't look after all this market making and all sort of things, speculation and all kind of, that's number one. Number two, my sincere advice has been to all the investors that don't run after and don't get carried away and don't get swept by these all type of up moves, in the market. Because if you really see the Tata Tele, since you have given me the example, we do keep a track, but that's not necessary that we be advised to invest. If you see the stock, I think was about 300 rupees a month back. Today it is lower circuit, maybe 150 rupees. And I think that the fate will be that it will come definitely the 2-digit. And I won't be able to give you any kind of bullish or maybe any kind of sympathy that this company is carrying any kind of fundamental. Now come on the reason that how it moves up, that as I said that I may not be able to give you any answer because I'm a poor fundamental analyst. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Purushottam Somani, you had raised last time also, but I think your turn did not come. Yes, please unmute yourself, sir.
Tulshanji, since we heard you, sir, since last many years I am hearing, but since you said recently that and we have very high regard that the fundamental companies you suggest, my only submission, will you suggest 2-3 companies specific? So we focus for 2 to 5 years. And since Ramdev ji has also indicated that the 5 years will be the period which will double in this thing. So be specific, 2-3 skip of your choice. If you can suggest, we will focus, sir. Thank you.
पुरुषोत्तम जी, ऐसा है कि सोमानी जी, ऐसा है कि मैंने हमेशा स्टॉक्स का रेकमेंड किया है और मेरे को कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती देने में। पर जैसे अगर आप लोगों को याद हो 19 अगस्त 2020 को जब सीएनबीसी पे आने के 2 महीने पहले मैंने स्टॉप किया था, सीजी पावर मैंने कहा था 15 रुपए में, और मैंने कहा था कि 1 साल में इसका भाव 100 रुपए हो जाएगा। मैं तो टारगेट भी देता हूँ साथ में। और मैंने कहा था 19 अगस्त 2000, जिसने भी देखा होगा, मेरे को मेंबर मेरे लिखते हैं कि सर आपने 19 अगस्त को 2020 को लिखा था कि टीवी पे कहा था कि 15 रुपए का शेयर है, 100 रुपए 1 साल में हो जाएगा। तब उस वक्त जो एंकर था, मैं उस एंकर का नाम लेना चाहूँ, उसने मुझे थोड़ा नेस्टी लुक दिया कि तो ऐसे 7 गुने की बात कर रहे हैं, जन स्टॉक का ऐसे इनको क्या है। वो आज 180 रुपए के भाव पे चल रहा है, 200 रुपए। अगर आप मुझसे पूछे तो मैं कहूंगा कि अगर आपके पास कन्विक्शन है, आपके पास पेशेंस, तो आप 180 रुपए में लेकर के बैठ जाइए सीजी पावर। इट कैन कीप गिविंग यू 30% एनुअल रिटर्न फॉर नेक्स्ट 5 years। दैट मींस इट कैन गिव यू प्राइस, यू कैन सी अ प्राइस ऑफ 500 रुपीज इन नेक्स्ट 4-5 years। लेकिन यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है, आदमी मैं कहता हूँ 500 रुपए 4-5 साल में, वो 4-5 साल को निकाल देता है। बोलते हैं 500 रुपए का था तुलसी जी ने, यार 170 का कल 160 हो गया, छोड़ो यार, तो ऐसे ही होता है। तो अगर आपको पेशेंस है और आप ट्रूली इन्वेस्टर हो, तो एक तो है सीजी पावर, दूसरा है अडानी एंटरप्राइज। जैसे अडानी एंटरप्राइज का भी इशू आया था, अडानी विल्मर का। अडानी एंटरप्राइज के पेरेंट कंपनी अपने नए नए बच्चों को निकालते, उसमें इंक्यूबेट करती है, उसको अलग कंपनी बना देती है। अगर आप देखें कितनी भी कंपनियां, चाहे जैसे आज ही अडानी ग्रीन एनर्जी का मार्केट कैप 3 लाख करोड़ हो गया। लोग बोलते हैं यार अडानी तो ऐसे ही है, अडानी तो ऐसे ही। मुकेश अंबानी के लिए भी 2 साल पहले लोग ऐसे ही बोलते थे, और ऐसा लट्टू हो रहे हैं रिलायंस के ऊपर 2400, जबकि हमने रिलायंस पे 1200 रुपए में बाई कॉल दिया था, 2400 में सेल कॉल दिया था। तो खैर, कमिंग बैक, आपने स्टॉक्स का जो नाम पूछा, तो अडानी एंटरप्राइज वुड बी द सेकंड स्टॉक। तीसरा स्टॉक है जीआईटीएफ इंफ्रा। एक छोटा सा स्टॉक है, बड़ी बिकॉज हमारी मेरी महारत है मल्टी बैगर में आइडेंटिफाई करने की। जीआईटीएफ इंफ्रा हमने 20 रुपए में आइडेंटिफाई किया था। सर ओपी जिंदल ग्रुप की कंपनी है, इसमें इसका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में स्पेस में प्रेजेंस है। वेस्ट इंसिनरेशन मतलब वेस्ट म्यूनिसिपैलिटी के वेस्ट को जला करके उसे पावर बनाना, पावर प्योरिफिकेशन एंड रेलवे ट्रांसपोर्ट में। आप इसका बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, मार्केट कैप है 400 करोड़ रुपया। अब 125 रुपए 130 रुपए पे लिस्ट हो रहा है। आपको मार्च तक 2 महीने में आपको 200 का भाव दिखेगा, 2 महीने में, बिकॉज इन्होंने अभी रिसेंटली एक आर्बिट्रेशन अवार्ड जीता है। तो अगर आपने ताकत है, आप 5 साल के लिए रखें, तो आपको कुछ का कुछ इसका भाव देखने को मिलेगा। मे भी 1000 रुपए भी हो जाए, बिकॉज ओपी जिंदल ग्रुप की कंपनी, और जिसका 2000 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन होगा 15 अगले साल में, वो कंपनी 300-400 करोड़ के मार्केट कैप पे चल नहीं सकती। इट्स अ नो ब्रेनर। आप लोग जोमेटो अगर को देते हो इतना बड़ा पैसा वैल्यूएशन, और नो कि उसके टॉप लाइन की ग्रोथ पे खाली, और यहाँ पे कंपनी टॉप लाइन एबिटा लेवल पे पॉजिटिव है, तो वो एक स्टॉक हुआ। फिर इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन योर। हम लोग हर बार मल्टी ये क्या बोलते हैं, मल्टी बैगर या लो प्राइस स्टॉक्स पे हमेशा एडवाइस नहीं करते हैं। हमारा हमेशा वो रहता है कि आप अपने उसमें वैल्यू देखिए कि आगे ग्रोथ दिखाई दे रही कि नहीं। जैसे सीजी पावर जब हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया था, उसका कारण था कि वो मुरुगप्पा ग्रुप उसको ले रहा है, जो उसमें पोटेंशियल था। वो तो थापर ग्रुप की बेवकूफी थी, गौतम थापर की, कि उसने अपने पैर पे कुल्हाड़ी मार के इतनी बड़ी कंपनी को रूइन किया। तो मे बी सीजी पावर, मे बी अडानी एंटरप्राइज, मे बी जेआईटीएफ इंफ्रा, फिर मैं आपको बोलूँ एचडीएफसी, टीसीएस, एचसीएल टेक, वो तो कहेंगे सब, वो तो सब हमको पता है, वो तो सब हमको पता है। तो कुछ इसमें, और मे बी वन कुड लुक टू टेक एक्सपोजर इन हिंदुस्तान कॉपर। वो भी आपको 3 साल में 4 साल में 3-4 गुना दिखाई दे सकता है। तो ये कुछ स्टॉक्स हैं सबके बेनिफिट के व्यूअर के लिए, जो मैं सजेस्ट करूंगा।
Excellent, thank you very much, sir. But one more thing.
No, please.
I don't know whether it is related to you or not.
Purushottam ji, give the chance to others, please. Mr. Atul Kedia ji, unmute yourself. And thanks, Tulshan ji, in the meantime, for giving so solid opinion about some stocks. Atul ji, unmute कीजिए आपको।
हाँ,
yes,
नमस्कार जी तुलशान जी, मेरा डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट के ऊपर क्वेश्चन था। गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी अग्रेसिव ऑन द डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट पॉलिसी, लेकिन जैसे आपने भारत पेट्रोलियम की बात कही, तो जो पॉलिटिकल कंपल्शन के कारण जो ये लोग प्राइसिंग को, जो इवन दो दे टॉक ऑफ फ्री इंटरप्राइज, फ्री मार्केट मैकेनिज्म, लेकिन पेट्रोलियम प्राइसेस जो अंडर चेक हो जाते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ पॉलिटिकल कंपल्शन, इलेक्शन इश्यूज, या समझ लीजिए पब्लिक जो ग्रेवेंस के कारण, तो उसके कारण जो डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट के ऊपर एडवर्स इफेक्ट होता है, इज इट नॉट गोइंग अगेंस्ट द गवर्नमेंट्स ओन पॉलिसी ऑफ लार्ज स्केल डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट इन द ईयर्स टू कम?
जी ऐसा है कि ऑयल मार्केटिंग कंपनी में जो ऑयल का सेक्टर की अगर आप बात करें, वहां तो मुझे कोई अड़चन आती दिखाई दी नहीं। अगर आप देखें आज अगर क्रूड का जो भाव था $80-90 से ब्रेंट के ऊपर नहीं गया, फिर भी भाव सरकार ने $100-110 पेट्रोल आपको खरीदने में मजबूर किया और किसी ने चिल्लाचिल्ली नहीं की। अब लोग बाग बोलते रहे कि साहब जब कांग्रेस के टाइम पे $150 का भाव था तभी भी इतना भाव नहीं हुआ पेट्रोल का, क्योंकि सरकार, सभी जानते हैं कि सरकार जो है वो जो एक्साइज ड्यूटी जो एक्स्ट्रा कलेक्ट की उससे कुछ ना कुछ देश के लिए मजबूत एसेट्स बना रही है। तो आई डोंट थिंक कि ये अपनी भ्रांति, अपन अपनी भ्रांति में झूमते रहते हैं कि सरकार की अभी ओएमसी तो आउट ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेड बाय एपीएम जो है एडमिनिस्ट्रेड प्राइस मैकेनिज्म, वो तो कब का डिसमेंटल हो गया। एवरीवन इज गिवन द अथॉरिटी टू फ्रीली मार्केट। एसआर वाले ने जो कंपनी रोसनेफ्ट ने ले ली है, रशियन कंपनी ने, वो अपना मार्केटिंग करा है। रिलायंस बहुत बड़ा 50-50 पीपी के साथ में ज्वाइन किया है। तो ऑयल मार्केटिंग कंपनी का बहुत बड़ा स्कोप है। इवन ईवी आएगा तो भी ईवी कोई 10-20 साल तक कन्वेंशनल फ्यूल को खत्म नहीं करेगा, 20 साल तक पक्का चलेगा, तो उसके अंदर काफी अच्छा फ्यूचर है। अब रहा सवाल की चीज का, देखिए सर, जब इस सरकार ने 5 स्टेट बैंक की एसोसिएट कंपनियों को स्टेट बैंक में मर्ज कर दिया, स्टेट बैंक ऑफ बीकानेर, ट्रेवनकोर, जयपुर एंड मैसूर एंड ऑल सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग, तो आई थिंक इस सरकार के पास पावर है या इस सरकार के पास उतना क्या बोलते हैं ना, वो है कि डिटर्मिनेशन कि वो ये सब टैकल कर लेगी। अगर पहले की सरकारों ने क्यों नहीं टैकल किया? उनका खुद का वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट, हमको करना ही नहीं था। तो बोले क्या करे साहब, हमको यूनियन तकलीफ दे रहे हैं। यूनियन को आप भैया, अभी आप देखो हर पीएसयू डिस्बर्समेंट में, चाहे वो फिर बीपीसीएल हो, फिर चाहे हिंदुस्तान कॉपर हो, वहां पे सरकार क्या कर रही है? एम्प्लॉइज को शेयर दे रही है। आप शेयर बीपीसीएल की शेयर होल्डिंग पैटर्न उठा के देखिए। मैं मेरी साइट पे www.sptulsian.com पे हमने रेकमेंड किया था, ये हिंदुस्तान कॉपर 30 रुपए में 150 का भाव है, हमने रेकमेंड किया था। सीजी पावर 20 रुपए का आज भाव है 200 का। इसमें कुछ मेंबर बैठे भी होंगे जो कि मेरे मेंबर होंगे, तो मैं यहाँ पे मेरी मार्केटिंग नहीं कर रहा हूँ। मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि अगर विल है तो देयर इज वे, और ये सरकार के पास विल है। और बीपीसीएल का पक्का मेरे को उम्मीद है कि 2022 में आपको बीपीसीएल का डाइवर्समेंट होते हुए दिखेगा और रेसिडुअल स्टेक सेल का होते हुए दिखेगा हिंदुस्तान जिंक का। आप देखिएगा सरकार 80,000 करोड़ रुपए मोबिलाइज कर लेगी 65 के सामने 23 में। तो ये तो सवाल अपने अपना व्यू का है कि आप अगर आपको एडवर्सिटी में अपॉर्चुनिटी देखनी है, आई सी अपॉर्चुनिटी इन एडवर्सिटी एंड पीपल सी एडवर्सिटी इन अपॉर्चुनिटी। और मैं आधे क्लास को पूरा देखता हूँ या पूरे क्लास, लोग बाग आधे क्लास को भी आधा देखते हैं कि आधा खाली है, और मैं देखता हूँ आधा भरा हुआ है। और मैं तो आधा घर भरा हुआ भी नहीं कहता, मैं तो कहता हूँ पूरा ही, बिकॉज आधे में हवा भरी हुई है। तो दिस अ मैटर ऑफ टेकिंग अ कॉल, बिकॉज अगर आप कोई भी आज आप इतिहास देख लीजिए, अगर स्टॉक मार्केट में आपको रहना है तो यू हैव टू हैव द पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट, यू हैव टू हैव बी बुलिश। आज जितने भी चैनलों पे एंकर्स आए हैं, मुझे उनके नाम नहीं लेने, they've all been economists, इसलिए they all got vanished the moment they left the channel, nobody knows about their names and all sort of things. So अगर आपको स्टॉक मार्केट में रहना है तो you need to have some philosophy, you need to be having some analytical ability, तभी आप इसमें सर्वाइव कर सकोगे। तो आई एम क्वाइट होपफुल। मुझे सब ये बकवास दिखता है कि ऑयल मार्केटिंग कंपनी में डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नहीं होगा, बीपीसीएल में उसमें प्राइसिंग पावर नहीं है, कोई आप कहाँ अड़चन है? यूपी में इलेक्शन है, कोई प्राइस पे होल्ड थोड़ी हुआ है पेट्रोल पे। I am quite hopeful, positive.
बीपीसीएल का प्राइस टारगेट
no,
क्या
sorry,
देंगे?
please, Rajendra Agarwal ji, please unmute yourself. Rajendra ji.
Yes, Ashok ji, I am there.
Our Rotary District Governor. Yes, sir.
Thank
Please
you.
ask your question.
Thank you, Ashok ji. तुलसियान जी नमस्ते।
नमस्ते।
तुलसियान जी, इंडिया की जो सबसे बड़ी इंडस्ट्री तो एक फार्मर इंडस्ट्री है, इतनी जमीन है, खाना पीना, ये इसको बूस्ट करने के लिए फॉर मोर प्रोडक्शन, लेस वेस्टेज, गवर्नमेंट का कुछ बूस्ट है जी ये बजट में?
इसमें किसका आपने?
एग्रीकल्चर फार्मर्स अपना
द फार्मर का जो प्रोडक्शन होता है।
राजेंद्र जी, जैसे मैंने अभी बताया, अगर आप देखें इस बजट को, अगर आप पढ़े, में फाइन प्रिंट को इतना टाइम नहीं है फूड प्रोसेसिंग पे, आपको ट्रांसपोर्टेशन पे, लॉजिस्टिक पे, ड्रोन का सर्वे का, लैंड रिकॉर्ड का, आपको उसकी किसमें आप क्या चीज उगाई है, वो सारा का सारा सरकार का फोकस रहा है पिछले 5 साल से। इनफैक्ट मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल दूं, कॉम्प्लेक्स फर्टिलाइजर का। पहले कॉम्प्लेक्स फर्टिलाइजर के खाली 3-4 टाइप के हुआ करते थे, जो इस इंडस्ट्री से सेवंथ कॉम्प्लेक्स में होता है एनपीके, नाइट्रोजन, फॉस्फोरस एंड फॉस्फेट, जो 3 चीज का, तो उसमें 20-20-40-40-40-20 बना देते थे। ये सरकार ने पिछले 4 साल में 18 टाइप के कॉम्प्लेक्स फर्टिलाइजर शुरू किया। आज जहां तक मेरी जानकारी करीबन 40 टाइप के कॉम्प्लेक्स फर्टिलाइजर अवेलेबल। मतलब आपको अगर नाइट्रोजन 20% डालना, नाइट्रोजन से एक तरह से ओबेसिटी होती है, नाइट्रोजन इज इक्वल टू कार्बोहाइड्रेट, तो अगर आपने नाइट्रोजन डाल दिया तो सरकार वो मतलब फसल मोटी हो जाएगी, लेकिन उसमें न्यूट्रिशन नहीं रहेगा। इन्होंने ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग, आप बजट को मैं सबसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि पूरे बजट को पढ़िए, उसमें ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग का जिक्र किया है, ड्रोन सर्वे का जिक्र किया गया है, उसमें सारी की सारी, मैंने अब जैसे आपको एक एग्जांपल दिया लैंड का, जो एक कनाल का जो कनेक्ट करने का 45,000 करोड़ का 5 नदियों का इंटरलिंकिंग ऑफ रिवर की ड्राफ्ट प्रोजेक्ट रिपोर्ट रेडी पड़ी है, बिकॉज पूरे ऑल इंडिया लेवल पे आप लिंकिंग इंटरलिंकिंग है। तो मैं कहता हूँ सरकार को इतना दुख है किसानों के लिए, बेचारों के लिए, कि इसके लिए कुछ करे, उसके लिए इनका दे मीन इट, लेट मी टेल यू, दे मीन इट। इनफैक्ट इट्स वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट that we have such a bad and useless opposition. Let me be very blunt. And इतना चीज है, जैसे मैंने आपको अभी यहाँ पे बताया था कि जिस हिसाब से इन्होंने फोकस किया है कि इसका जो ये 44,605 के केन बेतवा लिंक प्रोजेक्ट एट कॉस्ट ऑफ 44,605 करोड़ which will help to benefit 9.08 लाख हेक्टेयर, मतलब 1 एकड़ में 1 हेक्टेयर में 2.5 एकड़ होता है, तो 9 लाख एकड़, 9 लाख हेक्टेयर, तो 9 लाख हेक्टेयर का मतलब 23 लाख एकड़ जमीन, 162 लाख आदमियों को वाटर सप्लाई, 103 मेगावाट का हाइड्रो पावर एंड 27 मेगावाट का सोलर पावर होगा। तो ग्रीन एनर्जी पे, सब चीज पे, मतलब ग्रीन एनर्जी पे तो इतना इन्होंने वो किया है कि पूछे मत, वाटर के रिसाइकिल करके पूरा। तो आई थिंक दे आर बेंट ऑन गवर्नमेंट, इज बेंट ऑन बेनिफिटिंग फार्मर एंड वी शुड रीड ऑल दिस थिंग। एंड मेरी सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप बजट का सिर्फ स्पीच पढ़िए, बहुत छोटा स्पीच है, शायद प्रोबेबली दिस the shortest speech which has been seen in the history of the budget, because Nirmala Sitharaman had the record of giving the longest budget speech in 2020 of 160 minutes, and I think today maybe she may be having the record of giving the shortest speech of 92 minutes today, you know, so 160 का भी record उनका है, 90 का record उनका है। तो आप पढ़िएगा, आप लोग सब लोग, आपको पता चला कितना फार्मर के लिए इसमें किया है लोकेश।
Thank you very much.
Thank you. With this we are run out of the time, so thank you very much Tulsian ji for having spared your valuable time, you know, leaving your own business members and everything. Thanks. It is always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you,
sir. With this, I would bring in Vimal Punamia ji in the limelight, in the spotlight. Before Vimal ji starts, I would like to give a very brief introduction of. He is also a man. Vimal ji